Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Eye on Africa. My name is Awasar. I'm Assistant Director for Academic Affairs at the African Studies Center at Michigan State University, and Eye on Africa is our weekly seminary series. We're very delighted today to have Dr. Namoin Yao-Baglo as our guest speaker. Namoin has been with us for the last 6 months or 5 months. She is about to leave us, but we have been very grateful to have her with here, and she's gonna share today her research. And before I pass it over to her, a brief introduction. Dr. Namoin Yao-Baglo is Associate Professor of Organizational Communication at the University of Lomé in Togo, with over 10 years of academic research and teaching experience. Her research focuses primarily on the practice of communication in private and public organizations, media, and society. She has published several articles on these topics in collaboration with colleagues across Africa and Europe. She sits on the board of directors of many not-for-profit organizations in Togo and serves as a point of contact for the University of Lomé, University of Bordeaux Montaigne Partnership. She holds a PhD in Information and Communication Sciences at the University of Bordeaux Montaigne in 2011. And as I said, she is currently a Fulbright Visiting Scholar at Michigan State University. Thank you very much, Namoin, for accepting to share your research with us. I pass it over to you now.
Thank you, Awasa, for the floor. I would like, before beginning the presentation, to thank first all the staff of African Studies Center, and especially you, for welcoming me for this Fulbright Scholarship. And I will like to be very thankful for the presence of all of you here in Michigan State University and the presence of some of you online. So my presentation, I think I have.
We're having technical.
Okay, that is good. So my presentation, this is the outline of my presentation. I will talk about the definition and the scope of public communication. And we talk about public communication in Africa between myth and reality. And in the third point, I will talk about public communication in Togo, who is my focus, and talk about government communication and city communication. And at the end of my presentation, I will share with you some issue, challenge, and perspective of this kind of communication, and we can discuss or have a debate about this. So, in the beginning, the introduction, I would like to clarify the use of the term public communication during this conference. Indeed, according to my research, public communication in American or in English context doesn't refer to automatically public communication in the French sense as the way in which public institutions interact with their various public, internal or external. In doing so, we will not use the expression public communication in the English sense this afternoon, which refer more to speech in public, but in the French-speaking sense, namely how public institutions interact with their various public to give meaning to public action and encourage stakeholder participation. Okay, so I will use public communication in this, namely this afternoon. In fact, there is a link between public communication and political communication and social communication, but we have chosen to address only public communication during this conference. And we need to notify also that public communication refers more to professional practice than to theory. Also, because it can be considered as a management tool for a territory like country, region, or municipality, it is often assimilated to political communication since the actors in charge of public communication are also political actors, okay? The actor, most of actors who is in charge of public communication as mayor, as, I don't know, the ministry or all are politician person and are in charge public communication. So there is a link between public communication and political issue. Generally speaking, it covers the communication of public institution, state, parliament, or government, the communication of institution with a public self-mission and that of local authority. The purpose of this conference is to share with you the result of my research on public communication in Togo and to provoke a general debate. I hope we will have this debate after my presentation about the issue, the challenge, and finally the perspective of this particular form of communication in our continent. I think the technique is not with me this afternoon because I have, okay, some difficulty to share my screen, but I can go ahead. The first point I want to talk about is the definition and scope of public communication. For one author called Pierre Zemmour, okay, I have it now, okay. For one author called Pierre Zemmour, public communication is the formal communication that tends to the exchange. That is why I put this term in this cloud to show you. So the formal communication that tends to the exchange and sharing of information of public utility, as well as the maintenance of social link here, and for which the responsibility falls to public communication, public institution, or to organization invest with a mission of collective interest, okay? And its objective, this kind of communication have objective are to make known the service offered by the organization, to publicize and strengthen the legitimacy of the organization to citizens, informing on cause of general interest, develop the image and awareness of institution, position the organization in question in relation to other. If we want to consider the academic work on public communication, we can notify that public communication includes state communication. Public communication includes the communication of public institution, okay? Government communication in general or on specific subjects such as health. Okay, we have a lot of publication about health, public health communication, risk communication, government communication in time of crisis, and we have just noted the publication of a number of articles during the COVID-19, okay? And we have also in academic work talking about public communication, the analysis of communication campaign on various topics, okay? How the government doing the campaign, some communication campaign about a lot of subjects. It can be a part of work. And the communication of city, territorial, or marketing communication. So at this point, I want you to note that there is a very little research on public communication in communication area if we want to compare to research on public relations, on advertising, for example, commercial and marketing communication, or in journalism. We can find a lot of research about this topic, but in public communication, we have a few research about public communication. And the bibliography research conducted on the subject show that there are very few work in the Anglophone context on public communication as is understood in the Francophone world. At the beginning, I show you the difference between the public communication. When we talk about public communication in English area, people think about speak in public, okay? But when we talk about public communication in French, we understand very quickly the communication of public organization. So there is a few work in Anglophone context about this topic. And during my stay here, I have yet to meet anyone in the College of Communication who is doing research about this topic specially. And if we have a few work in Anglophone about this topic, we also have a few publication about public communication works in Africa. But we have some authors who talk about city communication in South Africa, government communication in South Africa. But if we want to compare all this research with some research made in journalism field or in public relations or in commercial communication marketing, we can see that there is a few publications. Now, I want to move to another point to talk about public communication in Africa between myth and reality. And I choose this title, who is a title of an article published by Roger Kemayou, who is a Cameroon author, Cameroon research, who published an article about public communication in Cameroon between myth and reality. And I chose this title for this part of my presentation. So addressing public communication in Africa is not an easy task because it covers different reality depending on the country and the context. Therefore, the reality are different depending on wherever you are in West Africa, you are in Central Africa, in East Africa, the North Africa, or Southern Africa, according to one author called Marion Spatisi. Okay, and I think that we can have a difference between our country, our neighbor country. I think public communication in Togo, it is not the same with public communication in Benin. It's not the same with public communication in Ghana because we are in English area. And so there is a difference, okay, because of the context are not the same. And we need to notify that everything depends on the democratic maturity, because we say that public communication is a link with political communication, okay? So we need to consider the democratic maturity of all this country and the ambition of the government to implement a real policy of public communication differentiated from political communication in another hand, okay? We need to consider maturity of democratic maturity, but it depends on the ambition of the government because it is public institution, public communication. You and me, we cannot decide to communicate or to say something in the name of the government of US, for example. I cannot decide to say something in the name of my government. So it's the ambition of the government and the democratic maturity who can push a very good public communication. And Roger Kemayou, in his publication about public communication in Cameroon, asked the interesting question. This question is very interesting for me and can be very interesting for you. The question is, how can we talk about public communication without a public administration that doesn't care about the accessibility of public service, the improvement of the proximity with the user and their reception? How can we talk about public communication in this context when we don't have the accessibility of public service or we don't have the improvement of the proximity with the user and their reception. And Traoré, who is an author, Togolese author, young researcher, studied also all the public information in Togo after 25. These two work, that is a very interesting point. These two work has shown, for example, that the public communication of the public administration in general does very little to promote convergence and participation. When we see how our administration, our public institution communicate in Africa, we can notify that there is a little promote convergence and participation. This communication don't allow people to participate to the public life, to be in a convergence, okay? When other publications such as public communication and territorial governments at the time of decentralization, who is a publication with Morocco author, use communication for better public service, especially in terms of civil communication. Okay, for public protection, how we can use public communication for the protection of the citizen. I show with you very quickly some visual I found when I'm doing my research about this topic. You can see this is French, some publication in French area about this topic. Now, I want to focus my presentation about public communication in Togo, my home country, and it is very where I have done a lot of research. I want to precise that I'm interested in public communication from an organizational point of view, okay, by questioning how these practices, when they exist, are organized in sense-making approach developed by Carl Weck. What I want to say here, when I study public communication in Togo, I'm specialist in organizational communication. So I want to see the government like as an organization, how it communicates with citizens, okay? And we can study communication in many approaches. I don't want just to know if they are informed people, but I want to know, well, what is the sense of this communication? When they talk, what can be the sense of what they are saying, okay? So during our research stay here at Michigan State University, we observed the communication of cities like Lansing, East Lansing, and Meridian Township by essentially visiting their websites. We were able to meet with the person in charge of communication at the city of East Lansing and participate in a meeting at the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce where we discussed how to promote the city of Lansing. This is, for me, an opportunity to thank once again all the people who facilitate this different meeting. But I want to precise that since we are not taking a comparative approach, we will not compare the practice observed here with those in our country, okay? My goal is not to compare how the city of Lansing, the city of East Lansing, or the township are communicated with what is going in my country, because I told you, I said that before, there is a difference with the political issue, the context. So I just watch what they are doing here, but I'm not doing a comparative study. So I have published, just for information, 4 articles on this topic. You have the name in French on the screen, but in English, quickly, you can say an analysis of public communication, issue and perspective or local government communication. I recently do a research about government communication in the test of the COVID-19, because we see that during the COVID-19, a lot of governments have made communication campaigns. So I studied the case of Togo. And I'm also interested about this topic, who is the communal management in Togo, the question of the effectiveness of the staff communication training system. Okay, all this research, oh, I have some problem with number here, sorry. All this research have question because we are in research. And quickly, my question are, how do public institution, government, public administration, and local authority communicate in Togo? What are the most recurrent tools and acts of communication? How effective are existing practice? What was the communication model used during the COVID-19 crisis? And what meaning emerged from a close analysis of public discourse and action during this period? That is what I'm going to share with you, the result of all this research. And in the methodology point of view, I have across a lot of approach, observation, because I'm citizen also, so I can observe what is happening in my country in public communication field. We have a report of the meeting we organized in my institute in 2016 on the theme, on the topic role of communication in public institution in Togo. Of course, I have made a literature review and work carried out by our students in their bachelor years and master years, okay? Because I'm a teacher, so I allow my students to go to make research about this topic in their homework. And of course, contact information. What all this research show like results? Okay, I begin with government communication in general in Togo. So government communication has undergone several changes in Togo since our first research on the topic was published in 2018, okay? Currently, it seems to be more organized with more tools. We have two spoken person who is there. I don't know how I cannot move this part of the screen. This part of, 1 second, Michael will help me, yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have two spoken persons, respectively the Minister of Communication who is here, the Minister of Human Rights here also. They hold press conference from the Council of Ministers every week. We observe the diversification of communication tools with the use of WhatsApp platform, Twitter account, websites, allowing the rapid diffusion of information. The minister participates in programs on traditional media, radio, and television. And the ministry have also websites, okay, website here. You can just click on and go directly to the website of all this ministry. And we have this one of our Prime Minister, who is a woman, and you have this seat. So if we want to consider things in 2020, we can say that there is a progress about this kind of communication with tools, okay? We can now identify who is spoken, the government spoken, and we can have an information going through the website. And this is about the tools. Now, I want to talk about the content of this kind of communication. Despite this advance since 2020, this communication lack real strategy in terms of content to unite citizens around public policy and change behaviors in a sustainable way while enhancing the service offered to the population. When we see how they communicate with us like citizens, we can say that this kind of communication is limited to the linear model developed by Shannon and Weaver, which does not encourage feedback or the construction of sharing, meaning there is very little consultation or even confrontation of opinion in the public space, okay? Also, although many initiatives have been taken in the public sector, the lack of communication in order to federate and mobilize citizens remain an obstacle to the conduct of projects. However, these projects are losing their relevance and are criticized daily on the media. Some of the communication advisors while working in the ministry we met in 2016 and in 2019 say they did not really do public communication because they felt they were at the service of the minister in the terms of daily tasks they were assigned. When they see what they are doing, they are the minister advisor, communication advisor, but they say that when they see what they are doing every day, it is like they are working for the minister. They are not working for the organization, okay? And because they are doing press review for the minister instead of playing a strategic role and being involved in defining public policy for better understanding and information of citizens. And they say also that they also have a lack of budget for this activity. They don't have a lot of money to communicate with citizens. As a result, government communication is still highly institutionalized, okay? There is still no clearly identified government communication unit, and the Ministry of Communication is often perceived as one in charge of this function. When we see our government, we cannot see a unit of communication in this government. We have two spoken persons, but there is not a unit of communication. So people they are to think that the Minister of Communication is who is allowed to do a government communication. Okay. Now, the second point about this point, it is the analysis of communication practice during COVID-19. As I told you, during COVID-19, all of we here, we just observe how all government communicate a lot to sensibilize the population, to inform them. During this health crisis, the Togolese government has taken several measures to effectively fight against the coronavirus disease. There is not enough time for me this afternoon to recall them one by one because they take a lot of measures. All these measures have earned Togo the rank of second in Africa and 15 in the world in managing this crisis. So we can see the lot of things Togolese government do to be the second in Africa and 15 in all the world about all they have done during this crisis. But now, in terms of communication, what is my interest? Data collected through desk research and interview reveal that media plans were developed and implemented as early as March. Okay, as early as March, at the beginning of the disease, we have a lot of media plans, and also on a daily basis, several multi-sector actors intervene on the media radio station, in particular to inform citizens about the existence of the disease, to sensitize them to adopt barrier measures and to explain to them all the measures taken on the organizational, social, economic, security, and health level by the government to limit the spread of the virus. In addition to French, which is our language, our formal language, these programs, these broadcasts were also in other language like Kabye or Mina to allow people, rural people, to understand what the government are saying. And we can see that several dozen of them, sometimes interactive, have been animated by public and private radio and television stations. From March 27, 2020, Togolese television, in his program called Au Cœur de la Nation, received on its set doctors and other actors of Togolese social life to host a first program on COVID-19. From March 20 to September 2021, TVT, who is our national television, declared that it has hosted more than 17 programs on this subject at a rate of 1 weekly program, not counting the many report products and broadcasts. Within this public information campaign, we also note the use of digital technology through the creation of a platform and the dissemination of information online. As far as the dissemination of information online is concerned, new websites have relayed the new concern the daily management of this crisis by dissemination, awareness raising image, and in this form of insert. These same images are widely disseminated on social network and particularly WhatsApp. You know that WhatsApp is one mostly used application in Africa and I think in the world because it is easy to use. You can hear people and you can also read the text messages. And websites for the dissemination on real information, official information have also been created to counteract intoxicant or fake news. Because during this crisis, we have a lot of fake news. People say that the disease is not real. So they have, the government creates websites to publish very official information. When you want to have the real information, you need to go there. So this summary description reveals the resource and media used by the Togolese government to inform citizens about the COVID-19 response plan, okay? It also shows the predominance, that is my interest, the predominance of information over communication, since the mechanism put in place didn't encourage relation or over the cohabitation of different points of view, okay? The government inform people, share information about this disease with them, but there is not a confrontation, there is not a discussion in the public space to know that what people are thinking about this plan of communication or what is their fear about this disease. They just inform people to say that we need to do this, we need to do this, but what is your feeling? How do you feel this disease? There is no confrontation, there is no discussion in the public space to talk about this. But according to Volton, who for me, these two elements are what differentiate information from communication. In communication, we need to take relation and cohabitation. In information, we just need to diffuse information, okay? So the Togolese government, which has used all available channels to communicate, because for them they are communicate, has in fact only informed citizens. According to this author, the intensification of the production and dissemination of message, in other words, information, had led to complex technical advance to the detriment of communication of the relationship with the other. He believed that communication is more complex than information because it raised the question of the other, defined as the relationship through which human beings seek to share, seduce, and convince. Communication encompasses information. And in additional, thus the communication pattern observed in Togo in the fight against the coronavirus disease is more in line with the linear model of communication developed by Shannon and Weaver I talk about. And you can observe, to finish this point, in addition to this aspect, the information campaign was mainly confined to Lomé, the capital, where the majority of the media and opinion leaders are located. Okay, now I want to share with you something very interesting. I say here how pedagogy can be turned in intimidation, because in the first approach of the communication, government communication, it is to inform people in the pedagogy vision. And we will see now how this this kind of communication can change very suddenly. Okay. So this is something our Prime Minister said during a meeting in face of National Assembly, okay? And she said something who make me reflection, because she said that we have a strategy. No, I think it is. Yes, we started with education and we have seen the results, okay? People don't go to the health center just because they have been more affected by fake news and they are afraid to go for vaccination. We have to change our strategy to be more aggressive and scary, because we are wasting a lot of time, energy, and resource. We have to move very quickly. It is a matter of individual and collective patriotic awakening. We have to start by scaring people, okay? It is what she said when she was in front of National Assembly. And she said also, we have a strategy that allows us not to destroy expired vaccine. This is done in many countries because they have not been able to consume them. In Togo, we will not destroy a single expired vaccine. Vaccines are expensive. What is happening in our country is really a matter of political will to ensure that we deploy the best possible strategy to success and vaccinate the maximum number of people. And when she said that in public space, there is a lot of discussion. People say that, okay, does it that mean that the vaccination we have are expired and they can give it for us? Why she said that we need to scare people? Do we need to scare people before they can do what we want them to do? So I think that like a communication that can be, we can call it a mistake, because you are in a field, you say that you want people to do what you want them to do, and just for the moment you say something. And I told you that it is the sense of the communication who is my focus, okay? So now I will move quickly. And what I want to say before move, it is communication practice are quite asymmetrical. When we see how our government communicates in our country, it is very asymmetrical. There is a lot of things they are saying, but we cannot have a lot of things said by citizens, okay? So it is like they are the only people who is talking every day, every time. Now, the public territorial communication. Togo has a particular history of decentralization. The first communal election in Togo took place in 1987 with the operationalization of 55 communes. These functioned until 1992, and from 21 to 2019, they were replaced by 21 special delegations. They call it in French, délégation spéciale. The decentralization process, which began again in the 20s, allowed the territory to be divided into 117 communes. This little country have 117 communes, with a second municipal election to be held in June 2019. From September 2019, this new entity became operational. From 2019 to today, we note that territorial public communication, it is in infancy. Formal communication practices are still too timid, with great disparity between the different communes. There are barely 30 communication officers in.
Je n'ai pas trouvé cela dans votre bibliothèque Apple Music.
100.
Me demander de mettre une station de radio ou d'utiliser une autre app pour écouter.
Yes, that is Mac. When you talk also. And a predilection of oral exchange and bureaucracy. There is a leadership stroke in several communes, and communication is often relegated to media coverage for those who have the financial means to raise awareness about the payment of tax, especially at the market level. Many citizens don't know the name of their municipality and the geographic location of the municipal administration. I hear one day a journalist or in a big talk in radio say that he is not able to say how is his city hall, cannot say it because he don't know it, okay? Lack of use of digital technology to exchange with the population. Of the 117 communes, only 20 have created, only 15 have created a website. Of the 30 communes that are in the capital, only 3 have a website and 5 of them are present in the social network. I don't address the updating of information on existing sites and the relevance of published content, which can be a subject of another talk. We can notify also the absence of the notion of the city and the communication around this city. The different agents of the city hall, including the mayor, receive training. We have had the opportunity to conduct training sessions in communication and question the effectiveness of the system because they don't correspond to a training plan for acquiring specific skills. As a result, the communication that should focus on the institution, mayor office, the administration, the communal, and the territory, the city, is not very well developed in almost all mayors, including the one in the Greater Lomé. Indeed, the objective of territorial public communication is to make known the competence of the communal administration, to inform the citizen about the service offered, to interest them in participation in local life, and to arouse their support for a set of projects to position the communal territory as attractive and full of potentiality in order to attract different audience, tourists, company, or students. Now, I'm going to conclude my presentation and talk about issue, challenge, and perspective of all this communication. I think, and we can discuss these points after my presentation, I think that the real issue of public communication in Togo and perhaps in some country in Africa is to provide all public institutions with a real communication policy to create, exchange, and maintain relations with citizens in a participation or even public approach. I think it is the first issue, how to provide all of our institutions, public institutions, with a policy, a communication policy, to be sure that all our institutions can communicate with citizens and communicate with all stakeholders. I think it is the real issue of public communication. Now, when we have this issue, we have a lot of challenge, and I notify 8 challenges who are not very simple. I think the first challenge is to have a political will. I think we need to begin by this because I told you about the link between public and political communication. So I think we need to have a political will. The second challenge of my point of view is to create a legislative framework that is conducive of even binding with the notion of information rights, okay? Information rights. We have in Togo a law in 2016 on access to public information. But when you go to public institution to have information, they ask you to write a letter. They write you to do a longer process, and you are just discouraged and you don't want to go again. So I think that to have a good public communication area, we need to have a legislative framework. The third challenge is to raise awareness of the need to inform and communicate with citizens among senior officials. It is very, I don't know how to say it in English, troublant. It is very, I don't know, can you, annoying to see that today, a lot of ministry, a lot of mayors don't know the importance of communication. It is very annoying. When I discuss, because I created the first association of professional communication in Togo, so I'm in link with a lot of them. They said that, I say, how can you explain that in your municipality, you don't inform citizens? Why can you explain it? And he said it can respond that our mayor is not awareness for the importance of this kind of communication, because we think that it is when you don't say nothing, you are more safe. Because if you say something, the people can come and ask you something, and the silence is our, our practice, okay? And we need also, I think it is a big challenge for us to change the paradigm. That is, leave the information shame to be anchored in communication. Today, we cannot say that I just inform people. I don't care that if they understand what I'm saying for them. I don't be sure that they understand and they can change the behaviors. I say that I just inform that it is good for me and I can go ahead. We need to change this paradigm. A challenge I find also, it is the training, professional training in public and political communication. There is a very little training in public and political communication on the continent. I know that in some countries we have a cooperation between College of Communication and College of Political Science to make a training about this topic. Because when you want to work at the government as communication advisor, you need to have a training about this. It is not just to be journalist, but you need to have a training in communication, political communication, and public communication. And this challenge is very interesting for me. It is to put the citizen back at the center of public policy and public communication. We need our citizens be the center of our public policy and public communication. And we need also to make all actors understand the notion of public service. The colonies, they say that the colonies left us a command administration, and it is urgent now to move to a public administration. We need, when we go to our administration, to not be scared because you don't know how kind of reception you can have. You don't know how kind of people you can meet. People who are working are not awareness that they are there to serve us. Okay, so the notion of service public is very important to have a good public communication area. And the end, I don't know if you can find it here. It is to allow civil society to fully play its role of control of public action, information, and communication. I think this don't allow me to show it for you. And when all this challenge, we can have them. That is my conclusion now. We have a great prospect in terms of research in Africa about public communication. As I show you, there is a few research now, and I think that in the future year, we can have a scientific field, okay, with pluridisciplinary conception of public communication in Africa with our reality. I think it is very important. And on the practical level, there is a lot of perspective because many opportunity as more government understand slowly the importance of public communication to inform and to unite citizens. Public communication can offer, I think, a great career in the years to come. And digital technology offer also a great prospect, especially in terms of communication with and for the youth population. Okay, we need to use this opportunity of digital communication to interact with our young population. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Namoin, for interesting presentation. Mike, are there questions in the room?
Anyone has any questions in the room, you can ask questions.
Before we go to the online public, so if anybody in the room has questions, please feel free to ask them.
Yep.
I know you talked a little bit about the linguistic diversity throughout Africa, but I'm wondering if there's linguistic diversity within Togo as well, and how that affects communication.
Suzanne, can you repeat, please?
Just be désolé. You talked about diversity in terms of language throughout the continent, and noted that could impact communication. But I'm wondering about within Togo, is there linguistic diversity within the country, and what does that mean for your?
Yes. Thank you for your question. Yes, we have a lot of language, but the most two who people spoke is Ewe or Mina, and is Kabye. Okay, but now what is the difficulty? It says when our official they communicate in French. We have the broadcast of some emission or in local language to allow people to understand what they are saying. But I think they are thinking about how to translate the public law or the public information in all this language to allow people to more understand. Okay, that is a big job and a big deal, because when you see our administration, there are a lot of things because it is a bureaucracy administration. So if we want to translate all of this in all our language, it can be a big job and a resource. We need resource. So they are doing effort to make information broadcast in local language. Yes. Yes.
You talked about giving the message of being scary. And so I'm wondering how scary you're going to make it. You talked about scary as a message way of like COVID, like how scary are you going to make it? Like, is it going to be a commercial? Someone saying something to alert people that way?
No, what I try to explain here, it is the discourse of our Prime Minister, who is in front of National Assembly, to have a prolongation of COVID period, because they take a lot of law and they need to have a prolongation. And when she was there talking about why they need to have the assessment of the National Assembly, she just said that now we need to scare people. And we see it in reality, because just after this disco, they have taken a lot of things. If you don't have vaccination, you cannot go to the public administration. That question our public law, because people say that, is it normal if I want to have a public service to show that I'm vaccinated? If I want to work, it is an obligation. If you don't have the vaccination, we cannot go to work in the public administration. When you go to our service of passport, to do your passport, the first thing you need to show, it is the proof of your vaccination. If you don't have it, you cannot go ahead to do anything, okay? So what I want to show, it is the change of the perception. The first time the communication is like pedagogy, we are, it is like we are, I don't know how to say it. We just accompany people to do what we want to do. And at one moment we say, okay, we stop it. We need to schedule you now. We need to people to be affair to do what we want them to do. I don't know if I can understand what I'm saying. Okay, thank you.
So you have one comment from the online audience. So Eric Montgomery is welcoming you to MSU. He did his research in Togo. So I'll pass on the information. And there is a question, what is the solution of public communication if there is no political will?
It is difficult. It is difficult, and I think that can explain what we observe in our country. As I told you, you cannot communicate or have a solution of public communication without political will, because it is political who need to accompany their job with public communication. When they are politicians, they come to have a government or to do something, they are public, okay? When the mayor is in campaign, political campaign to win the election, he is a political people. But when they win, he win, now he is public person. So it is for him to say that I need to inform my people, I need to communicate with them, to build a relationship with them so they can more understand what I'm doing, and they can in the future give me a chance to be again a mayor or to be again, I don't know, minister. So if we don't have political will, I don't know how we can do it. That is my answer. Now, we can also imagine that civil society, okay, people, citizen, can do something to push politicians to make law, to push politicians to go to public communication. But I talk about the democratic maturity. If we don't have this, when people will do, I don't know, like reclamation or say that we need to have more information, we can also have some wrong things. So it is difficult. Okay, I say a question, can lobbyists do something or not? You know, in Africa, I don't know if lobbying, what kind of lobby? We are talking about public communication in link of political issue. I don't know if we can have a lobby, company cannot have this way to do lobbying on political issue. Now, what is happened, it is because we are working with international institutions, our government are trying to take a law or do something to say that they are communicate with their people because they need to have a kind of legitimation of their action, okay? But is it this sufficient? I don't know. I don't know. Yes, Susan. Okay, if it is one party dominant state, how does this affect public communication culture? Okay. Oh, thank you, Suzanne, for your question. I want to be sure that I have a good understanding of this question. Yes, it is one party dominant state. How does this affect public communication culture? If there were other parties, would this make it more likely to be two-way public communication that is more audience-centered? We have domination with one party, or yes, one political party in Togo. And so the other party or the opposition don't have, in public space, they don't have a place to speak, place to do, to talk and to make like contrepoids to, yes, to balance what the public government or public communication are saying. So it's difficult. Okay, you mentioned disparity between commune. Could you grade presentation? 2 questions. Please talk more about the disparity in communication between commune. They are and one. Okay, that is good. Thank you for this question. If you consider Lomé, who is the capital, okay, we can imagine that the 30 communes which are in Lomé can have websites, for example, because they are in Lomé, we can imagine this capital. But unfortunately, we see that in this 30 communes, only 3 have websites, and only 5 are in social network like Facebook. And I told you that if I want to talk about the updating of information of this website, it can be another talk, because that is another things, okay? So the disparity is about information, but the disparity is about the, how do you call it? You can have a little commune, because in this little country have 117. So we have a little commune who don't have a lot of resources to do the work, to communicate. And when you are in the rural area, people have a lot of challenge, and communication is not the first challenge they want to go through. The first challenge is to have money to pay the functionaries who are working there, to have money to do roads for people. So communication is not their first, yes. Does fake news pose a challenge in public communication in Togo? Yes, but fake news pose, yes, a lot of challenge, and we see it during the COVID-19 when one of Togolese have a website and he called it fact check, okay? And every time we have fake news, he published an information to countercarry this kind of fake news. So yes, we have it. You know, when you don't say nothing, people will talk for you. So when our mayor, our city hall don't say nothing, people talk for them. But the deal is to consider all these fake news and to do something to erase it. Yes. Thank you.
Any more questions from the audience in the room or online?
Okay, what are the impact of social media on the public communication? Yes, the impact is real on Twitter, because you can see people can tweet, have this liberty of expression to say something about public communication. But what I did an observation. It is like our ministry are more communicate in their name in Twitter. What I want to say, you can see some minister who is talking about his activity more than the website, the public website can talk about, okay? So they use only social network to build their branding, because a lot of them are young, you can call them, and their awareness to how social network can help them to build their personal branding. And I think in a way to harmonize communication, our government need to do something, because you cannot allow people, one person, to build his communication more than he can do it for public action, okay? So yes, there is a social network have impact on public communication in Togo, yes, yes. But the deal is how this impact change things. That is my point of view, how this impact can change things. Because one thing is to say something on social network, but one thing it is what you are saying or what you are can give transformation or changing things in the real life. And because people cannot go to the radio or television and say what they want to say, they can do a video on YouTube, they can do something to have this liberty of expression. That is very good. But how all these things can impact our life in the real, that is the big challenge, I think.
Okay, if there are no more questions, we can stop here. And for people who are in the room, we can continue the discussions. I see one more question.
You see one more question?
So I think it's a comment. I think that sometimes government reacts to information they call fake news on social media. So social media push the to inform people. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Namoin, for your presentation. We very much appreciate it. And thank you everybody for coming. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.